156. The Odds and Ends. Once upon a time, there was a girl who was beautiful, but lazy and negligent. When she had to spin, she became so irritable that if there was even a small knot in the flax, she would pull out a whole heap and scatter it on the ground beside her. Now she had a maidservant who was diligent. This maid gathered the discarded flax, cleaned it, spun it fine, and had a pretty dress woven from it. A young man had courted the lazy girl, and the wedding was to take place. On the eve of the wedding, the industrious maid danced merrily around in her beautiful dress. The bride remarked, "Ah, how that girl does jump about in my odds and ends." The bridegroom heard this and asked the bride what she meant by it. She explained that the girl was wearing a dress made from the flax she had thrown away. When the bridegroom heard this and saw her laziness and the diligence of the poor girl, he left her, went to the other, and chose her as his wife. The Sparrow and His 4 Children. A sparrow had 4 young ones in a swallow's nest. When they were fledged, wicked boys knocked the nest down, but they all managed to escape safely in the gusty wind. Now the old bird was sad because his sons had ventured into the world without his warnings and teachings. In autumn, many sparrows gathered in a wheat field, where the old bird found his 4 children again and joyfully brought them home with him. "Ah, my dear sons, you have caused me much worry this summer, venturing into the wind without my guidance. Listen to my words, follow your father, and be cautious. Little birds face great dangers." He then asked the eldest where he had spent the summer and how he had sustained himself. "I stayed in the gardens, searching for caterpillars and worms until the cherries ripened." "Ah, my son," said the father, "foraging is not bad, but there is great danger in it. From now on, be vigilant, especially when people wander in gardens, carrying long green poles that are hollow inside with a small hole at the top." "Yes, father, but what if a little green leaf were stuck over the hole with wax?" asked the son. "Where did you see that?" "In a merchant's garden," said the boy. "Oh, my son," said the father, "merchants are swift people. If you have been among the world's children, you have learned enough worldliness. Use it wisely and don't trust too much in yourself." He then asked the next son, "Where have you been?" "At court," said the son. "Sparrows and foolish birds are of no use there, where there's much gold, velvet, silk, armor, hawks, owls, and harriers. Stick to the stable where oats are winnowed, or where they thresh, and fortune may bring you your daily grain in peace." "Yes, father," said the son, "but when stable boys make traps and tie their nets and snares in the straw, many get ensnared." "Where did you see that?" asked the old bird. "At court, among the stable boys." "Oh, my son, court boys, wicked boys, if you've been at court and among the lords without losing any feathers, you've learned quite a bit and will know how to fare in the world. But look around and above. Wolves often devour even the cleverest hounds." The father then takes the third son aside. "Where have you sought your fortune?" "I have broken tubs and ropes on the cart roads and highways, and sometimes found a grain or caterpillar there." "This is indeed," said the father, "fine sustenance, but pay attention to the surroundings and be diligent, especially when someone bends down to pick up a stone. There's not much time to linger." "That's true," said the son, "but what if someone carries a wall or handstone beforehand in their bosom or pocket?" "Where have you seen this?" "Among the miners, dear father. When they go out, they commonly carry handstones with them." Miners, workers, resourceful people. If you've been among mountain lads, you've seen and learned something. Go forth and take good care of your affairs. Mountain boys have killed many a sparrow with mischief. Finally, the father turned to his youngest son. "You, my dear fledgling, you have always been the silliest and weakest. Stay with me. The world has many rough and wicked birds with crooked beaks and long claws, waiting to swallow poor little birds like you. Stick with your kind and pick up little spiders and caterpillars from the trees or the house, and you will remain content for a long time. You, my dear father, whoever feeds themselves without harm to others will fare well, and no sparrow, hawk, eagle, kite, or falcon will harm them if they commit themselves and their honest food faithfully to dear God every evening and morning, who is the creator and sustainer of all forest and village birds, who also hears the cries and prayers of young ravens, for without his will, not even a sparrow or a snowflake falls to the ground." "Where did you learn this?" asked the son. when the great gust of wind tore me away from you. I came to a church where I spent the summer picking flies and spiders off the windows and hearing these sayings preached. The Father of all sparrows fed and protected me from all misfortune and fierce birds. Truly, my dear son, if you fly into churches and help clear spiders and buzzing flies, and chirp to God like young ravens, and commend yourself to the eternal Creator, you will indeed remain well, even if the whole world were full of wild, malicious birds. For whoever entrusts his affairs to the Lord remains silent, suffers, waits, prays, acts gently, preserves faith and a good conscience pure, to him God will be protector and helper. In the tale of Cockaigne, during the time of Cockaigne, I ventured forth and saw Rome and the Lateran hanging by a small silken thread, and a footless man who outran a swift horse, and a keen sharp sword that cut through a bridge. There I saw a young donkey with a silver nose chasing after two swift hares, and a broad lime tree on which hot cakes were growing. I saw an old lean goat carrying about 100 cartloads of lard on its body, and 60 cartloads of salt. Is that not enough falsehoods? There I saw a plow, plowing without horse or cow, and a 1-year-old child throwing 4 millstones from Regensburg to Trier, and from Trier into Strasbourg, and a hawk swimming over the Rhine. He did so rightfully. Then I heard fishes starting a commotion with each other that echoed up to the heavens, and sweet honey flowed like water from a deep valley onto a high mountain. Those were strange tales. There were 2 crows mowing a meadow, and I saw 2 gnats building a bridge, and 2 doves tearing a wolf to pieces. 2 children brought forth 2 kids, but 2 frogs threshed grain together. I saw 2 mice consecrating a bishop, and 2 cats scratching out a bear's tongue. Then a snail came running and killed 2 wild lions. There stood a barber shaving a woman's beard off, and 2 nursing children bade their mother to remain silent. There I saw 2 greyhounds, who brought a mill out of the water, and an old sorry horse stood beside it, affirming it was right. And in the yard stood 4 horses threshing grain with all their might, 2 goats heating the oven, and a red cow shooting bread into the oven. Then a cock crowed. Cock-a-doodle-doo, the tale is fully told, cock-a-doodle-doo. The Dietmarsh Tale of Lies. Let me tell you something. I saw 2 roasted chickens flying swiftly, their bellies turned towards heaven and their backs towards hell. An anvil and a millstone swam across the Rhine, gracefully, slowly, and quietly, and a frog sat at Whitsuntide on the ice, munching on a plowshare. There were 3 fellows who wanted to catch a hare. They went on crutches and stilts. One was deaf, the second blind, the third mute, and the fourth couldn't move a foot. Do you want to know how it happened? The blind man saw the hare trotting across the field first. The mute one called to the lame one, and the lame one grabbed it by the neck. Some who wanted to sail on dry land set their sails in the wind and sailed across large fields. They sailed over a high mountain where they had to drown miserably. A crab chased a hare in flight, and high on the roof lay a cow that had climbed up there. In that country, flies are as large as goats are here. Open the window so that the lies may fly out. Riddle tale. 3 women were transformed into flowers that stood in the field, but one of them was allowed to be in her house at night. Then she said to her husband at one time, as the day approached, and she had to go back to her companions in the field and become a flower again, "If you come this morning and pick me, I will be released and henceforth stay with you." And so it happened. Now the question is, how did her husband recognize her, since the flowers were all alike and without any difference? Answer: because she spent the night in her house and not in the field, dew did not fall on her as it did on the other 2, and that's how her husband recognized her.